Hello, welcome back to my world of stuff. My name, it would be Paul Mount, by all accounts. Welcome back to a new video, one of the videos I really enjoy doing. It's a physical media update / show and tell, where I parade in front of you all the money I've spent in the last few weeks on Blu-Rays, DVDs, comics, books and bits and pieces. And there's a fair few things this week. I think it's about 2-3 weeks since my last update. And I have a few new things to show you. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 discs. DVDs, Blu-rays and 4Ks. Got some books, got some comics, got some collectibles. So let's get on with it. Hello, welcome back. Yes, quite a few things that I have collected on my travels in the last few weeks. And what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to do the Blu-rays and discs towards the end of the video. Because I suspect that people who like watching this stuff like to see the Blu-rays and DVDs and things. So I'm going to leave them to the end of the video. Doesn't mean a lot because you can just fast forward, but you might as well just sit and watch the rest of the stuff I've got. So, as I said, I've got 9 discs. I have got some books, I have got some comic books, I've got some collectible odds and sods. So let's have a look. First of all, with the books. 3 books. This one, I was very pleased to pick this up. Picked this up at a charity shop. I went out on Friday with a chum of mine for a little wander around. In a charity shop, I picked up this book, Wool, by Hugh Howey. Now, I've been meaning to get this for ages. I remember it coming out a few years ago and thought, that sounds quite interesting, but I never picked it up. This is the book that forms the basis of the TV series Silo that was screened on Apple Plus last year. Many of you may recall that this was my favourite show of last year. The book is still in print. I've been meaning to pick it up, but I got so many other books on my reading pile. Found this in a charity shop in pretty good condition. I think you'll see the spine hasn't been damaged, and I'm one of those people when I read a book, I like to make sure that the spine doesn't get cracked. So, I mean, it's a bit sort of aged on the pages, but pretty much in good condition. This was 99p in a charity shop on Friday. Managed to get all the stickers off by use of a kettle and the Poundland lighter fuel trick. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased to get that. When I get around to reading it, I'm not sure, but I'm pleased I managed to pick that up for £1 last week. A couple of other books. This one I picked up from Amazon week before last. I've been waiting for this to come down to a more realistic, sensible price. You may remember a couple of years ago, BBC Books brought out an illustrated version of the first ever Doctor Who novelisation, David Whittaker's Doctor Who in an Exciting Adventure with the Daleks. It was a nice big, large format book with illustrations, very atmospheric illustrations by an artist called Robert Hack. The BBC brought out towards the end of last year a similar volume of the book Rose by Russell T Davies, which of course was the first Doctor Who episode of the new 21st century version of Doctor Who. It's a really good book. He adds lots of detail and colour and little cheeky references and nods for fans. That came out as the second edition of the illustrated books, fully illustrated, Doctor Who Rose. Nice big chunky hardback book. This was £30 when it came out. Now, I'm not skin flint by any stretch of the imagination, but you know how things are these days. If you buy a lot of things, it's nice to get a bargain now and again. So I've been keeping an eye on the price and keeping an eye on the price. And it went down to about £25. And last week, I think it was for £17.99. I think it went down to. It might have been £19.99. But it was at a price that my wallet found acceptable. So I decided to pick up a copy of this superb book. Haven't reread it yet, obviously. Again, it's on my list of things to read. But this is a really nice collection of books. You can see the illustrations inside that sort of Rose and Jackie's living room just before the chaos of meeting the Doctor begins. Scenes from the book version with the autumn creatures coming to life and the Doctor. Really nice version. I won't show any more images from it in case you're thinking of getting it. Well worth getting. I'm really pleased to have got this one at a decent price last week. And that goes into my book collection, Where It Shall Live. I picked up this book because I happened to come across it on Facebook. I'm one of those people now of an age where nostalgia is a big thing. You look back to the 60s and 70s and 80s and remember what things used to be like. And the 80s weren't bad either. I picked up this book by a chap called Gavin Canham. with pictures by Rob Marchant. It's not illustrated by photographs. It's published by Roman Bank Publishing. I don't know if that's independent publishing or not. But it's a book called Frankie Says. Stories about growing up in the 70s and 80s. Looking back at iconic things from the 70s, as you can see from the cover. We've got things like the Banana Splits, Top Cat, which are actually from the 60s come to think of it. There we are. And Yogi Bear and the Flintstones and so on. It's just grown-up stories about growing up in Britain during those magical years of the 70s and 80s. Nostalgic trip down memory lane via the pop culture of our youth to a simpler world we're all far too old to remember much about. 50 stories covering topics which range from mixtapes and magic roundabout, one-hit wonders to the young ones, dangerous toys to Doctor Who and school days to summer holidays. And it sort of takes the format of essays and articles. So on that one's on video cassettes. I remember the old video cassette recorders, what a revolution that was. A little bit about Doctor Who, of course. Looks quite interesting. Again, I haven't had a chance to dip into it yet, but I will probably start looking at that a bit later this week because magazine deadlines and various things have passed now. So I've got a bit more time to curate what I'm watching and reading and so on. Comic books. I know you people love comic books. Picked up a few comic books, a couple of things from eBay. One of the comic strips I really remember enjoying back in the 70s was Werewolf by Night. This was at the time when the Comics Code Authority had relaxed their rules a little bit, and they were very antsy about horror and gore and that sort of universal type horror, but they relaxed those rules a little bit, which allowed Marvel to fully indulge themselves, doing titles on the Frankenstein monster, Son of Satan, I seem to remember, Dracula, various other classic monsters. And they did a title which I really used to like, called Werewolf by Night. And I read a lot of that run. I remember there's a couple of issues in particular which were really good stories. It's about a character called Jack Russell who transforms into a werewolf by night. And I picked up, for a pretty good price on eBay, giant size editions of the comic. No normal comic would be 20 odd pages, but these are, they would call them book length. They're not book length, they're just slightly extended stories. Haven't looked into these properly yet, they only came last week. But this is Giant Size Werewolf 3 and Giant Size Werewolf 4. And these date back to January and April of... This one's got a slightly manky inner cover, but that's okay. These date back to 1974. This is the prime sort of era when I was reading Marvel Comics. I may well have read these. I'm not entirely sure because I know that the distribution of Marvel Comics in the UK was quite spotty at that time. Once Marvel had established itself in the UK via its UK published reprint titles, they started bringing in American comics, but there was a sort of a limited run of comics every month, which instead of the sort of 50-cent banner, they would have like 6p or 8p on them. You could always tell the British editions that have got the British currency on them. I don't imagine these would have come over, so I've probably never read those. So I'm quite looking forward to have a look at those. Here's one I picked up from a charity shop in Cardiff last week. Went up for lunch with some friends, did a little bit of a charity shop wander, and picked up something called Shadowman. I've never heard of this. This is published by Valiant Comics, never heard of them. And I picked it up and looked through it. It has the sort of comic strip art which I find acceptable in that it tells the story and doesn't look too obscure. And this has got work by Steve Ditko, the classic Steve Ditko, one of the plotters. Mark Moretti, Don Perlin, Jim Shooter, names I know from the world of comics. Writer Steve Englehart, Jim Shooter. So some quite well-known names involved in this. It seems to be sort of vaguely superhero-ish, Shadowman. Yeah, that looks quite interesting. It's a collection of the first 4 or 5 issues of what I assume was a short-lived comic. Goes back to January 1994. If you've ever heard of Shadowman, you know anything of his history, feel free to leave a comment down below and tell me anything about the history of the character, because it means nothing to me. But as I say, saw it in a charity shop for £3. Thought that looks quite interesting. Final comic book for you is one I've actually read. This came last week and I've read it already. This is called Planet of the Apes, Fall of Man. This is a wafer-thin Marvel graphic novel which collects 5 editions of a comic strip which came out some time ago. I don't know when it was originally published. I don't really care. But I was interested. Now, there are lots of Planet of the Apes comic books, and I remember in the 70s reading some of the stories which went off in all sorts of bizarre tangents. I think they were written by a chap called Doug Mensch, who took the Planet of the Apes saga and some extremely strange areas. But this is interesting because this purports to be, and in fact is, pretty much the story. It bridges the first of the new or more recent Planet of the Apes trilogy, which was, of course, Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This bridges those first two films. If you remember, at the end of the first film in this series, there was the apes had started to talk and rebel against mankind. There was talk of this so-called simian flu. And in the next film, mankind has apparently been wiped out and humanity is on its knees, basically. And this is the interim story, if you like. This is how humanity fell and the apes rose to power. I was going to say if you like, but I'm not saying that again. So it bridges those two films, and it's quite interesting. I read it. It doesn't take long to read, but it's quite an interesting story. It sort of jumps around the world and tells the story of this extreme organisation, Exercitus Virii, the army of man, who are determined to wipe out all apes because they think that the apes are themselves responsible for the simian flu. But in fact, in the narrative of the films, it's an offshoot of the Alzheimer's vaccine that had been developed in the first film. Very good. Really enjoyed reading that. It was good fun, and it was interesting to get a view on the backstory. Right, I've got two more collectible things to show you, but I will leave them to the end because one will involve an unboxing. Let's go on to the discs. That's what you're here for. So as I said, I bought quite a few discs. Well, not quite a few, 9, excuse the wobble, about 9 discs in the last fortnight, 2 to 3 weeks. First one I picked up was Amy. This is Asif Kapady's well-regarded documentary about Amy Winehouse. And I picked this up for about £3, I think it was, on eBay, because I've recently seen the film Back to Black. My review of that film is further back along the channel if you haven't seen it. Really enjoyed that film, but aware that it is a sanitised version of the story of Amy Winehouse, and I wanted to get the slightly more warts and all version of her ascent to becoming pretty much a phenomenon and her descent into drink and drugs hell that eventually destroyed her prematurely. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. It's in one of those slim sleeves, which never bothers me, but some people get a bit worked up about them. I know it's supposed to be a very well-regarded documentary, and I will be watching that quite soon. I picked this up from Denmark, Amazon Denmark, horror film. It was quite cheap, and I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it quite recently, but I don't remember it. There's Something in the Barn. And I think this is quite good. I mean, of course, on the back, it's all in Dutch or German or whatever it is. It doesn't tell me what the film's about, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing this maybe before Christmas, about these people who move into this house in the countryside, and there's, as the title suggests, there's something in the barn. So I'll be revisiting that quite soon. I know it's it obviously hasn't stayed in my head, but I think it's a pretty good film. This one, you know I've seen this because I've recently done a retro movie review, Beetlejuice, which cost me 30p in a charity shop, and if you want to see what I thought of it, just check out my most recent video. Please do, because not many people have, so it would be very nice if you just go and have a look. Discs, more discs, 4Ks, I've got some 4Ks here. Zavi, I've been doing one of their many promotions recently. Then I had 3 4Ks for 30 quid offer, which is 10 quid each. I missed out on one I wanted because I sort of thought, oh, I'll go back to that. By the time I went back, one of the ones had gone. So the ones I picked up were the original Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man. All 3 of the Spider-Man films were available as part of that deal. I didn't particularly want Spider-Man 3 because I don't think it's a very good film, but Spider-Man 2 is one of the classics. And I thought, I'll go back and get that. But by the time I went back and started putting my order in, it had gone, it had sold out. So I had to make do with the original Spider-Man. But that's not a problem because it's a good film. Always worth rewatching, and of course it's in 4K. The presentation itself is just a normal 4K box and a 4K disc in black and with a photograph, not artwork, of Spider-Man on the Blu-ray version. So yeah, nice. I haven't seen this for years, so of course Marvel are now responsible for Spider-Man or taking them in different directions. So it'll be interesting to go back and revisit that very first Spider-Man film in the early days of modern superhero cinema. I also picked up Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. This is the second in the Tomb Raider films. I used to have this on DVD. I might have had it on Blu-ray. I just quite like these films. I know they're not very well regarded by the gaming community, but I've never played the game. I think Angelina Jolie is a very statuesque Lara Croft. She seems to embody what that character should be, from what I know. This sort of feisty, powerful ass kicker. I very much enjoyed the first film. Second film I haven't seen for ages, but you know, people sneer and sniff at them, but I think they're very entertaining action films. Looking forward to watching that one again. This one I just picked up to make up the numbers, but I don't regret it because it is a good monster film from Alexander Ayer, came out a couple of years ago. It's called Crawl. Jaws with crocodiles, basically. Crocodiles escape from a farm during the middle of a storm in Florida, and the character played by Kay Scodelaria has to stay alive, basically. It's, so, you know, it's the sort of film that we're very familiar with. It's an upmarket, bigger budgeted and rather better version of those dreadful films you get on the Sci-Fi Channel. The most recent of them being Attack of the Meth Alligators. If you see that, don't go there. Right, a couple of charity shop pickups now, a couple more charity shop pickups. On the same trip out on Friday, picked up a few discs for 50p each. This is Jonah Hex. Again, it's based on I think it's a DC comic. Josh Brolin, John Malkovich and Megan Fox. This came out at 2010. I know it's not a very good film. I've seen it once ages ago. Wasn't very impressed. I think Jonah Hex, is he DC or Marvel? Not sure. It's not very good, but 50p, Blu-ray, there's no harm in having a look at it again. This is a weird one. I've not seen it in full, but I did start watching and thought this is a bit odd. And I think it is quite odd. It's Darren Aronofsky's version of the story of Noah, starring Russell Crowe. It comes with its slipcover. Ooh, 50p. Again, in very good condition. The disc looks as if it's not been... Well, actually, it has got some fingerprints on it, but that will come off. So it's, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. 50p. It's a bit weird. I remember seeing a bit of it, and there's some sort of rock monsters type creatures that appear at some stage. Darren Aronofsky does quite weird films, but I'll put this on my shelf and get around to it one of these days. The final disc is one again I picked up for 50p in a charity shop. This is called Prince Valiant. This actually is the Australian edition of this film, and I picked it up because I quite like these sort of old classic. It's based on an old comic strip, funnily enough, and it stars James Mason, Janet Leigh, Robert Wagner, and it's Prince Valiant travels to Camelot to become a squire for Sir Gawain, one of King Arthur's legendary knights, unaware that the traitor that sold his father, King Agwar, to the pagan rival King Sligon is already seated at the round table. It's a good, rollicking, romping adventure film. I've seen this years ago. And it's unusual to find a film like this out in the wild. And I was quite pleased to pick it up. I checked on CEX. You get a £10 voucher for this on CEX. However, this is the Australian version, so I suspect they'll turn it away. Or turn me away if I take it to CEX. But I'll probably have a look at it first, because sometimes it's nice to go back and watch something vintage, and this is pretty vintage, I suppose, isn't it? That's nearly it, in fact, but I have some collectibles to show you. I mentioned going out last Friday with a friend of mine. I shall say hello to him, Yayan. He often wanders the local charity shops looking for things that I might like, and last week he found these for, I think they're about 2 or 3 quid each, and he picked them up for me. They are canvases, war canvases, and I quite like war canvases. I buy the odd one here and there. I don't think I've got any, can't see any in the cinema room as such, but they're quite nice, and these are all Iron Man canvases. Invincible Iron Man, the cover of issue 48 of the Iron Man comic, Birth of the Power. Secondly, we have Iron Man 69, the raw pulsating power of the Great Golden Avenger, looking like that. And the third one is of Beasts and Men, cover of number 16 of the Invincible Iron Man. They're quite nice and colourful. They're slightly washed out. I think they might have been in the sun or something. Hard to tell because of the way the imagery is done. But yeah, I'm quite pleased to have those. I'm meaning to rearrange the cinema walls now and again and still swap things around. So it'll be nice to put some of those up. So, and they were a couple of quid each. I think £2.99 each. So I was quite pleased that he picked those up for me. Finally, a collectible of sorts. You may remember, many months ago I picked up from B&M Bargains one of their vinyl PVC dioramas of Marvel superheroes. They brought a lot of these things out. These came out originally by the gallery dioramas, I think they're called. I think they were about 60 quid when they came out. As is often the way, unsold stock makes its way to places like B&M. B&M are particularly good at getting well-made name products rather than just these sort of metal hero type things you get in other charity shops. Eventually, when they had them, I think Correct me if I'm wrong. I think when they were in B&M originally, they were $39.99. And then they came down to $29.99. And that's when I picked up the excellent figure of Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, which looks like this. Then I've been just keeping an eye on them to see if they bring the prices down, because as I say, I like a bargain. And I think they've come down now to $24.99. And I've been waiting. It depends on stock. They've got Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Captain America. And I've been waiting to see if they come down to about $19.99, because I quite like Iron Man. But the stock is getting a bit thinner now. You've got things like the Wasp and Spider-Man Noir, which I'm not particularly keen on. And of course, superhero cinema is sort of losing its appeal a little bit. So I'm not as big a fan of Marvel stuff as I was, say, 2 years ago. But there are certain things I'm still quite interested in getting. Long and short of it is, at the moment, B&M are doing a 20% off toys and that sort of thing. So I bit the bullet and picked up this rather nice figure of Captain America. Steve Rogers' Captain America. This was 1998 it came out, because it was 20% off. And I thought, yeah, that's a decent price, so I will pick that up. As you can see, it's still in its box, so what I'm going to do now is unbox it and show it to you. But what I won't do is go through all the faff of taking it out of the box and cutting through the sellotape and so on. I will show you the figure as it is when it is unboxed, and there it is. Captain America in fighting mode. He's got his shield up with, I think, what's supposed to be bullet ricochets on the metal, and he's prancing about. He's on his little stand, America stand. A nice figure. I think it's rather nice. As I said, Marvel is sort of, you know, it isn't the big thing it was at the moment. Whether it will come back, I don't know. And I was always a massive Marvel fan. I'd see the films, and I still tend to see the films quite early on release. But I'm aware that the fire has gone out of the Marvel flame a bit. But this is a nice figure. I will show it to you again properly. There he is, an old cap. Doesn't necessarily look much like Chris Evans, but I don't know. Costume, nice costume around the back. It's nice piece. And I'm glad I only paid 20 quid for it, not 40 or 60 or whatever they were originally. It's nice solid little piece, which I will display with, possibly with Doctor Strange, or maybe somewhere else, who knows. Right, that's my stuff that I bought then. Fairly comprehensive list of things I bought in the last couple of weeks. Quite a few odds and sods. Usually it's only a handful of things, but as there were quite a few, I thought I would do a video today. And they're always fun to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new here, you've just stumbled across this channel, why not like and subscribe? Decent thing to do, really, for a man of my age. Press that subscribe button there. Leave a thumbs up. Like, leave a comment, which would be even better. Tell your friends, share. I'll see you soon. Coming up soon, incidentally, I've hinted that a change coming to this channel. I'll talk a little bit about that now, actually. Looking at the channel over the past few weeks, it has gone spectacularly quiet. There's been very few views of a lot of the videos I've done. Film videos, reviews and odds and sods. It's been 40, 50. It's odd. I've got 600 odd subscribers, but they don't watch the videos. It's quite odd. And I know, these days there's massive calls on your attention and your time. Things you can watch, things you can't watch. There's not enough hours in the day, and I appreciate that things have to stand out to really make you commit your time to it, and I appreciate that. I have the same thing with certain things that I look at as well. But it would be nice to get a few more people looking and just getting the channel being a bit more lively. I get some comments, and I thank you for everybody who leaves a comment. There are one or two of you who do leave regular comments to videos, and I do appreciate that very much. But I think it's time to sort of spruce things up a little bit. And as I said, I was looking at the channel recently and thinking, as I have done several times, this is nothing much is happening. Is it worth carrying on? Should I knock it on the head? Should I commit my time to someone else? But I haven't done that because I'm not tired of the channel. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing the videos. I enjoy the editing and the bits and pieces, and I'm mastering certain things. And I just enjoy tinkering and tampering and doing the graphics and so on. That's fun to do. While that's fun to do, I'm going to keep on doing the channel. But I think there has to come a point where you have to say, well, I'm spending an hour and a half recording and uploading and editing a video to get 50 views. Is it worth it? But I haven't reached that point yet. But what I'm going to do, I might as well it's not a massive change. I don't want making a big fuss of it. As you know, I have always numbered my videos. This is 397 or something like that. It's something in me. I like numbers of things. I like collections with numbers. Probably vaguely autistic type thing, actually. But I like to have a collection. I like to look at numbers, number 1, 2, 3, 4. And I thought with this channel, it'd be nice to have that sort of history where I would be able to say, if you look at episode 264, you'll see my review of this, my review of that. But I've never done that. I haven't kept a list of what's on the videos. I just have to say to you, look back, you'll find the review. So I've got no referencing system, if you like, and I just number them because I like seeing the numbers going up. But I don't know if that works against the YouTube algorithm, whatever it is. And I'm always hearing people talking about the YouTube algorithm. I don't know what it is, but I don't know how it works. So I'm just wondering if removing numbers from the video will make it feel, when people look at videos, less of an obligation. If they look at a video and think, oh, blimey, there's 400 this post videos, I won't bother. But if it just appears as a random review or a random video, it might get random views. So I'm going to knock the numbering on the head after I get to number 400, and it'll just be videos appearing as and when they do. Elsewhere, I was thinking of changing up the title sequence and the music again, but I have done that several times, and I'm pretty happy with the sequences as they are at the moment. So I'm going to leave them as they are. But I will be sprucing up the thumbnail format. Again, the thumbnails for my videos, and they're the things that attract people. They're always very random, different fonts, different pictures, different styles. I'm going to try now to find a specific look to my thumbnails with specific lettering, logos, that will grab people's attention. Oh, there's a new video from that blog. Because as it is now, you're scrolling along and there's just a name in a different font. And so that's sort of making it look a bit more regulated so that videos have a recognizable signature. I think that's what I'm probably looking for. So that people browsing will recognize a picture or a logo or an image or something that ties it to this channel rather than just this type of font this time, this type of colouring, this type of... So try and keep a regulated look to it. That's the plan. So not major changes, but just things that will, I'm hoping, bring a few more viewers to the channel, and because things have sort of ground to a halt in terms of new subscribers. I understand that that sort of happens, and as I've always said, I'm not looking to get hundreds of thousands of subscribers, because I've noticed that the people who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers have to work very hard to keep them, and to keep them satisfied by churning out video after video after video, and I don't want to do that. I want to do 2 or 3 videos a week, maybe 1 week 1, maybe 1 week 2, maybe a fortnight without doing anything. I don't want to have the obligation of doing something to keep up views and clicks, and of course once you get into the higher range of subscribers you start getting monetized, and of course that increases people's urge and need to create content, as they call it. This is just here something that I enjoy doing, and I'm gratified if other people enjoy it, but it would be nice to get a few more people on board and a bit more of a community feel perhaps. So anyway, a couple of minor changes, nothing massive. I'm sticking around, you'll recognise the videos, but they'll just be tidier thumbnails, and there'll be no more numbers. It'll just be a video will appear and you can have a look at it. So that's all it is. So I thought I'd mention that now. As far as the rest of this week is concerned, there are videos coming. There'll be a video coming up maybe later today of a film I watched on the weekend called Infested, which is on Shudder. Spiders. I'll just say spiders. Later this week, The Fall Guys out in cinemas. That's the new film with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, based vaguely on the 1980s action series starring Lee Majors. That's coming out Thursday, so I'm hoping to catch that on Thursday to get a review up fairly quickly. I've also caught up with Monkey Man, the Dev Patel directed action film, which is in cinemas, but it's sort of only just hanging on in cinemas. So there'll be a review of that coming up very soon. And on the weekend there will be a Doctor Who video, because it's a week Saturday that Doctor Who arrives. And I just want to do a video, a sort of countdown video, looking at what my expectations might be for the series, what I think it might be like. And I'm afraid, yet again, taking a hatchet at some of those Doctor Who fans who won't let go. I'll leave it there for now. Right, thank you for watching. I will see you soon. Apologies, this has been a rather long video. I will see you soon. Until I do, like, subscribe, keep taking the stuff. I'll see you next time. Keep taking the stuff. Goodbye.